Hello and welcome back to Any Creativity. I wanted to go further in on how I select my Gluebook images. What do I do when it gets to the point of getting rid of magazines? Because I told you I do keep my magazines for at least 3 glance overs. Sometimes some magazines will get more than that or less than that depending on what the magazine is. So I want to go about that process for me as well. But before I go through, I want to just kind of read off what I thought about when I thought of gathering images and what I need to be looking for. And generally, when I am choosing images, I choose things that can be backgrounds. So, for instance, something like this that has more background to it than actual text. These things right here can easily be covered. This could stay there and be part of your collage like inspiration, but this would make a really nice background page. So looking for pages that don't have a lot of images, looking for pages that don't have a lot of text and stuff all over the place, or that have interesting blurred backgrounds that you can kind of make your art on top of. Generally, that's what I look for. I tend to like nature type images like sunsets, trees, and scenery like that. So I gravitate towards that. You may not, and that may be something you want to ignore. That's fine. I find things that are always good in collages are birds and butterflies and flowers. So if you have the option of getting those might be the items that you want to fussy cut, so that you can get really clear pictures. And this is some of the stuff I fussy cut. I've stored here for now, but like teeth, cars, hands. These are just images I will go out and fussy cut. Clocks. And any interesting like focal images of people that you can cut out easily, that doesn't have tricky things like the hands and other like wisp of hairs and stuff. Sometimes that can be problematic when cutting out. I also like sayings and stuff. So sayings, any sayings that I think is really nice, any words that may go well on a page, or I also do creative journaling. So I have a journal that I just use, like an art journal on it, a collage, or just write in. That's generally separate from my glue books. So I will use some imagery. Sometimes I might use something like this. Maybe I even use these two things together, and that'll be a journal page in itself. So that's always something to look out for. I love weird things like this and eyes. They draw my attention. I like bridges. I find bridges and sceneries like that could be very interesting. So that's my personal preference again. Look for things like this. This was on a perfume bottle. I can add this to an image and it might be a really cute image with this bow tie. So I look for those kind of things. I don't always cut out jewelry, but occasionally, say I would cut out something like this. And that could be on someone's head, or it could be someone around someone's neck. It could be the bottom of something. It just adds some interest onto a page. So that's why I cut out that image. Sometimes I cut out faces so I can do something with it. I don't always do a lot of things with faces cut out like this. But I do have a couple that are really nice, so that if I get inspired, maybe do creative hair or something like that, I can use these images so they stay in there. This I thought was very interesting. I haven't found an image to use it on yet, but it looks kind of like wings and stuff like that, so I thought that would be pretty cool to use, or some just kind of a to adorn something with. Most likely it's going to be a person, so that's what I do there. And this feather was gold. I had to cut that out. It's interesting. So you want to look for things that are interesting, grab your attention, that you may not always see when you're going through magazines. It's something that usually they don't use a lot, and it strikes your eye like this feather did. Cut it out. Hands. Anytime I see hands where I can cut them out and put them randomly on a page, I cut them out. Mouths, big exaggerated mouths can be fun to use in a collage page. Cars are always fun to play with in a collage page. another car here. Chairs. Chairs are always fun to play with. Balloons, like I'm talking about, like the flying air balloons. Those are always fun to play with. See, this person didn't have a whole body, but her head was in this circle, and her hands were pretty easy to cut out because most of it was still in the circle. So I cut that out. I don't know where she's going to end up, but I think she's interesting, so I cut her out. While these images are a great guide for you to use to cut out your own, it may not be something that you are interested in. For instance, those hands or those clock faces may not be something you would want to cut out. The important thing is, do not cut out and use anything that you're unhappy with. You will hate the collage later on. You will be unhappy with the page. It will seem forced because you're not engaging with the image. And the image is something that doesn't bring any happiness or interest to you. So the first point about any kind of artwork that you do, it should be interesting. It should make you happy, because after all, you're the one that's going to see it the most. So you want to find images that you enjoy. So I said I go through stuff when I am considering getting rid of magazines. So tomorrow is my trash day. So generally, I want to see if I have a lot of room in my recycling bin. I would take a stack of magazines that I've already went over at least one time, maybe more than once, and go through them. And what I'm looking for at that point is any text. So like these bold letters, I would probably cut out. Any images that I mentioned before that I may have not seen right away. And little things that could be used as background or mini images. Let's see if I find what I just cut out. Give me a second. Mini images that I don't notice on first glance that would be good for my mini books, because I do have a mini glue book that I will use. So I look for those images as well. So let's quickly just go through this one. Now, cars are great to cut out, but this magazine's all about cars. I'm not going to cut out every single car that I see, but if it's something that grabs my attention, I might. So I would go, maybe I might want to cut out this image. But for me, it doesn't seem very interesting to me. It doesn't appeal to me, so I'm not going to cut that out. But that may be something you might want to look at. This is another one that you might want to cut out. There's Jay Leno. I'm not a big Jay Leno fan, so I'm not going to cut that out. I would cut out this text for words for my en masse books, or for making headings and descriptions and stuff in my glue book. I would do it in ransom based, which is a mix of different letters coming together, making a saying or phrase. So I've cut those letters out, and I will cut them. I'll go back and cut that out. These big giant letters here, most of the ones that are easy to see, I would cut out. Okay, so there's some more text, bold letters I would cut out. Generally, I would not cut those eyes out because you can't tell if they're eyes or L's, and I really don't like that. So I often don't cut them out. Occasionally they make their way in, but usually I try not to. This might be a good phrase, so I might cut this out as a phrase. I would cut some of these letters out. Now we're talking, this is the last chance. After this, it's going into the recycle bin. So I'm cutting out every little bit of things that I can possibly use. So that letter, these numbers, I'm cutting out. This is not the greatest magazine. You can't really see a lot of interesting things, but these are good words. I would cut those out as words and sayings. Maybe might cut this image out if I can get it to cut out right. think that's a cute image. All right, so that's all I saw in that magazine. So I would cut those things out and then immediately recycle. As you can see, some of these magazines even have the covers taken off. So I've gone through these pretty well. But I often don't cut everything. So like these big bold lettering, I'd cut them out, especially this eye, because this eye is with the dot on top, and then that's clear that it's an eye, and you don't get many of those. So I definitely cut that out. This seems like a cool image to cut out, so I might cut that one out. And I like trees, but I'm not a fan of this particular image, but I will cut this out for people who I make these bags for with all my leftover supplies. I might toss that in the bag because it's interesting enough that someone might do something really cool with it. I personally just won't do anything with that one. Okay, that number I might cut out. Maybe these ocean waves might cut out. That might be good on a journal page where I'm reflecting. I might use that. I'm going through these pretty quickly because I want to make sure this doesn't end up forever, and just give you an idea of when it's done. You see, I use a razor. I'm not always careful, so sometimes they go through other pages. Not the best, but it does cut down a lot of fussy cutting time, so I take it when I can. So I might want to cut this little leaf here to use in my mini journal. These letterings, I might cut these out. This word I might cut out. This is pretty interesting, so I might cut this out in addition to this. I think those would be really interesting, so I might cut those out. I don't know what I would do with it, but I might just put it in a page with mixed images. I may cut out this newspaper, maybe this picture. Maybe some of this phrasing on here, I might cut out pieces of that. Winning at the game called life, that is a good saying. I will cut that out. Stranger than fiction, another good saying. Symbols, anytime I see symbols like and symbols or any other symbols, I'll cut them out just in case I decide to do a symbol page on my and mass, or I want to write a saying and I don't have a lot of room. I use the and symbols. So that's probably all I'm going to take from this one, and maybe these on the back. So I'm not gonna. Some magazines I may tear apart completely until there's only a couple of pages left. But in those magazines, I really didn't see much, so I'm not going to worry about getting every single picture and letter and everything, because then I'm collecting things I may not use. So I want to avoid that as well. She might be a good image to grab. Mona Lisa here. But she comes out pretty often in my magazine, so I may or may not grab her, but she would be a good image to use. Okay, this might be a cool image right here. Maybe some of the flowers right there, if I can cut those out, I would also cut out. Expect the unexpected, that's a good phrase. I would cut that out. Okay, she might be a good image. I might cut her out. Maybe even the shadow as well. With black and white small images, I might cut this out. And maybe this image right here. maybe some of the lettering right here. The lettering here I would cut out. Parts of her I might cut out, like maybe I'll cut out the lips or the eyes. Her eyes I might cut out. Her face is interesting, but it has a lot of stuff on it, so it would be hard to get her whole entire face out. But I might cut these eyes and maybe some of these flowers that are right next to her and use it in a different face or a different image collage. So I would definitely probably cut pieces of her out. Okay, as you can see, there's not many bold imagery, bold lettering in this magazine, so I would definitely not cut all these unless it's a good saying. Awakened senses might be a good saying, but otherwise I would not cut those lettering out because it's not going to be standing out on the page. Okay, just a couple pages left. Okay, I will cut this image out right here with the dog. You can see it very clearly. But that's about it. So I would cut what I said I would cut out, and then I would just toss them in recycling and not think about them anymore. So generally when I have a big stack of magazines, and I have a pretty tall stack of magazines, on a day before recycling goes out, I would go through at least like 10 to 15 magazines and take what I can from those magazines and then toss them in the recycling bin. And that's what I look for on like third pass. I wanna see the letters, I wanna see some sayings, and maybe some images that I missed in the first couple rounds that I didn't see as interesting at the moment. Maybe it's interesting now, or maybe I decide to cut it out for someone else since I don't want those images to go to waste. If I don't use it, I will pass them on. But other than that, I will not cut every single image out, every single lettering out. Only the bold, nice, striking images and lettering I would focus on. Because you really can amass a lot of sayings and words and pictures, and then they start taking over your space, and you don't have no space to create. So you want to be mindful of that. But I hope this helps you think about what kind of images to cut. Think about what your process will be when you're collecting and harvesting images from these magazines, and when you're also doing these fussy cut images, on which images to fussy cut. So that might give you some ideas there. And again, like your images might be different than mine. Thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I hope this kind of helps you think about these ideas in a new way. And because Cagefish is doing these weird animal faces, I saw him, he didn't have a face, so I cut him out, and I'm like, well, maybe I'll throw an animal face on him. Not my style, but it might be something to play with when you start getting stuck on what to do on a page. So anyway, I hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. Leave your comments and ideas below, and I will try to address them. Any questions, I'll get back to you right after the video. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you around. Bye.